Hello, everyone. This is Out of the Gloom, the Shamanwood podcast. Today, I'm really excited because we get to talk about one thing that makes F3 unique, what makes it very special, and that is how we expand from one AO to another, from one region to another. And that's the reason that we have our third man here today. But before I move forward, quickly introduce myself. I am Bill Skoronsky. You can call me Puddles. This is my partner, John Kreis. He is Doghouse. And our third man today, is James Casey. He is in our Shamanwood region, and we all know him as Snail Mail. Snail Mail, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, we're excited to talk a little bit. I just saw Snail Mail yesterday. We were supposed to run together this morning, but we got hit by this enormous storm last night, and it basically washed out any safe way of getting out there at 6 o'clock in the morning. Lightning everywhere, rain everywhere. Just too difficult to get out. But Snail Mail and I talked a little bit about what's going to be on the show today, and I'm really excited to share that with everyone else. Before we get started there, just a quick reminder, ways that you can learn more about F3. You can visit f3nation.com or f3shamanwood.com. That's our local region. And we actually ran into a couple people trying to EH some guys on Saturday. So I hope they check out the website too. Maybe they'll even check out this podcast. But as a reminder, if you're not familiar with F3 yet, that stands for Fitness, Fellowship, and Faith. That's, again, what we'll be talking about today, what we talk about every week on this podcast. But before we get into the first F, I wanted to give Doghouse a chance to share our core values, our mission statement, and the F3 credo. Doghouse, take us away.
All right, yep, thanks. One, we're open to all men. Two, we're free of charge. Three, we're held outdoors, rain, shine, heat or cold. Four, we're peer led in a rotating fashion. And five, all workouts end in a circle of trust.
Aye, excellent.
All right,
As a
our mission
good.
is to plant, grow, and serve small workout groups for men for the invigoration of male community leadership. And finally, our credo is to leave no man behind, but leave no man where you find him.
Wonderful. We talked already about one of the workouts Snail Mail and I were at yesterday, but I wanted to give Doghouse, you and Snail Mail a chance to look back on the week that was and point to a specific workout that you enjoyed or one event activity that stood out in your memory from this last week here in August. Doghouse, why don't you go first?
Yeah, sure. So this week was Ricola's Hell Week, so shout out to Ricola. He put that together as a way to kind of boost some of the AOs that we don't always get to go to. I know he's trying to always drive the islands, the evenings, and Black Diamonds. He queued, I think, 6 or 7 times this week, all across the region. And yeah, the Hell Week was to try to get everybody out this week. So my favorite one was definitely yesterday, the Black Diamond Lift Club at the Wood. So we started out basically, I think there were 14 of us, yeah, 14 or 16. We partnered up and we had 7 stations and it was Tabata style. So each station had a pair of workouts and then halfway through we switched. Tabata timer being 3 minutes. Foreclosure was on cue there and pretty much brought out an entire gym to the wood, to the pavilion. So it felt good. I'm very sore today from it, but overall great cues. So shout out to Ricola and shout out to Foreclosure.
Awesome. What about you, Snail Mail?
Uh, I posted 3 times this week, and all of them meant a little bit of something to me. But I think the most important for me was probably Mondays at the Wood. And for me, it was a very good post because I was the site queue on my own for the very first time. So stepping up and being able to do that and doing a pretty good job, I think. I felt pretty accomplished after Monday at the Wood.
Yeah, I get that feeling.
That's
Congratulations. Thanks for stepping up. I'll
Thanks.
actually talk about that a little bit in my COT, so we'll come full circle at the end of the show. As we always do after the workout of the week, we go into a pack spotlight, which is why we've got snail mail here. We'll do a little bit of Q&A, get to know you a little bit better, get to know your journey to and through F3, and as you just mentioned, where you're going from here. So I'll give that back to Doghouse for a little bit to get those questions started, and then I'll jump in a few minutes.
Sure.
Cool. So let's start right at the beginning. Snail mail. How did you find F3?
Uh, I have a friend. His name is Toolbox, and his wife has known about F3 for about a year. One of her friends is married to a guy who goes to F3, and she's been nagging Toolbox to try and come out for about a year. And Toolbox finally snapped, and he needed an accountability partner, basically. And so he
Awesome.
came up to me and said, "Want to go?" And I said, "Sure."
I got to
So
hear a
by
little bit of that
extension,
backstory the other
yeah,
day, and it was really cool to see how Toolbox had this message in the back of his head for quite a while, but then there was this one moment where he realized he just couldn't keep up with his kids anymore, and he didn't want to be that kind of dad. So maybe he would have come out on his own, maybe not. You know, you guys are further away from Shamanwood than most, but having an accountability partner like Snail Mail, I think, made that happen. So good for you both.
yeah, that's awesome. There's definitely more than a few packs who've been sent out on orders of their wife. So um, I'm counting you as an extension of Toolbox's M. So
Mhm.
all right. Second question, if you happen to know it, we like to kind of go pop quiz style. But what's your post count today? Do you know?
I did check, and I'm not really sure how to read the website, being new and all, but I think it's 64.
Okay, I can help with that. We that's an opportunity for us to display that a little easier for the guys. But that sounds about right. Awesome. And finally, my last question: how did you get your F3 name?
I deliver mail for Plainfield. So snail mail. I
Perfect.
definitely, when it comes to the name, I've definitely leaned into it. I don't know if anyone's noticed, but I don't speak in words anymore. I speak in AI generated images. So kind of
Well,
where I'm
I
at there.
definitely noticed.
yep,
Best AI game in the region for sure.
definitely.
Me.
Good. Well, one of the other reasons I was excited to have you sign up to be the third man, and that reminds me, I wanted to lead with this, but just a quick reminder before we go too far into the show that the Q sheet is open for anyone who wants to sign up. And Snail Mail is a perfect example of someone who has not been here for 5 years, has not been here for 1,000 posts, but he saw the opportunity and he wanted to be a part of it. So that's what we need more of. So thank you, Snail Mail. What I wanted to get while it's still fresh for you, I don't think you mentioned when that first post was, but what your early impressions are. Doghouse, go ahead.
Sorry, can I jump in real quick? I just want to kind of add on to what you're saying. I know we've heard from some packs that maybe there's a certain post count or guys that have been around long enough or whatever the case may be for jumping on the pod. So just to piggyback on what Puddle said, there's no prereqs. If you want to jump on, and we'll talk.
Doesn't even
So
matter
if you're
what region you're
listening,
from.
get in the sheet. Sorry, go ahead.
Yep. Doesn't even matter what region you're from. So, Snail Mail, I wanted to get your first impressions of F3. We've talked very briefly about this in the past, but I wanted to understand from your perspective, like coming into your first workout, you and Toolbox, not knowing anybody else, like what was going through your mind as you're going through that first boot camp?
Yeah, the first boot camp was definitely a trip. Kind of one of those things where you almost black out. We showed up, we didn't know anybody, no one knew we were coming. Um, so that's weird. Usually you EH a guy and then they show up and he'll know somebody. We knew nobody. Um, had no idea that you needed cinder blocks or gloves. So luckily, one of the other packs had both cinder blocks and gloves for both of us. Um,
Was
and
that
then
at
we
the
went.
Wood?
It was at the Wood. It was a never miss a Monday.
Okay. Yeah.
So the warm up was 100 Merkins and 4 laps around the parking lot, which right there just kind of scared the crap out of me. Um, and then we went into the workout, which was apparently, I found out later, an Iron Pax workout from the year before that they just reused. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've never been so close to throwing up as I was on my first workout. What I did realize is that the harder the workout, the more likely you are to come back, at least in my brain. I feel like had that workout been real easy, I might not have made the journey back. But because I nearly died, it was a lot. I had something to prove.
Hmm. So since then, you were one of those guys who it didn't take you like 3 months to decide, I want to keep doing this. To my recollection, you and Toolbox, once you were in, you were pretty committed from day one, right?
Definitely. He and I talked about it before we even went to that first workout, and we said, you know what? Maybe we can make this work. One, maybe 2 days. We'll do a Monday and a Saturday. And I think that first week we posted 3 times, and then we posted 4 times for the next 4 weeks straight, and then up to 5 times. We were right in. It
Yeah.
was something that both of us needed, I think.
But there's also something going on that you've mentioned to me in the past where even though you were in it, you were fully invested. There was also something in the back of your head that was asking, when's the other foot going to drop? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, no, I'm a pretty cynical person. And when someone says there's something that's good for you and it's free, I look at it. I'm like, it can't be free.
Hmm.
So I'm not going to lie. There was probably for the first month or so, every time I showed up, I was kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop, thinking, okay, is this the day they're going to get me with? All right, so now you got to sign up for this, or now you got to do this. And
Doghouse, did
yeah,
you have any of that in your early days? I wonder if that's because he wasn't EH'd by a guy who was already in F3.
Yeah. So my initial, I would say no. And then, but I am very much of the same mindset, right? Of too good to be true, other shoe's gonna drop. But for me, I first came across F3 with a friend I had on Facebook. He posted it, and I was kind of skeptical. But then I got directly EH'd by Trifecta, who kind of gave me the lowdown on it. And if you know Trifecta, you know he's gonna suss out the any bullshit. So
Hmm,
um, I knew that if it was coming from him, it was probably a pretty legit thing.
okay.
yeah.
Right. Sorry, Snail, I'll go back to what you were saying.
Oh, no, no. I was just saying that, after about a month or so, I kind of realized that there was no other shoe and it was a free men's workout group that was good for you. And it was just trying to help you become a better person. And pretty exciting to be part of it.
And over the last, remind me, was that back in March that you first started?
It was March 17th was my first post.
Okay. So that was still early in spring. And then summer hit. And I remember we were talking about running more. That's something that you had done a lot of before. But I think you and I kind of had a similar experience when you started getting more and more active. Your body's like, wait a second, what's going on here? Can you talk a little bit about your experience catching up to where your body was?
Oh, yeah. Well, to go to that experience, I got to talk about the past. Probably about 10 or 11 years ago, I was um, getting back into running and training for a 5K or whatever I was doing, and pushing myself like a 16-year-old when I was a 34-year-old. And I fractured my femur, a stress fracture.
Hmm.
Um, so I was out of work for about 3 months, and very, very leery about getting back into running after that. Well, start up with F3 and doing the boot camps and building the muscles and getting stronger. And I'm like, okay. So I went into a couple of run clubs and got pushed a couple times by people like Bluegill and Picasso. And uh, I don't know if it was fractured or not because I never went to the doctor, but it felt very similar to when I had a stress fracture before. It was just in the other hip.
Hmm.
So I took probably 6 weeks where I only posted for lift clubs because I was afraid to run.
Hmm.
And I mashing is not something that we would talk about. Like you see people say mash, but you don't really understand what it means.
Right.
So that's where I struggled. Whereas those 6 weeks, I could have posted 3 or 4 times and just mashed, not run. But I found out about it, and I'm pretty sure I've posted 3 to 5 times every week since. So
Do you remember how you finally figured out what mashing was? Because I
yeah,
agree. If we don't really talk about it unless you have to do it. So we never really introduced that option to guys because if they're hurt, they just don't come out anymore. Do you remember how
yeah,
you first found out about it?
yeah. Actually, Rooney reached out to me over the Slack, and he asked me. He said, "What can you do?" And I said, "I just can't run. I can do anything else." And he's like, "Well, I'm going to make a workout for you. You come out." And I was like, "All right." So I went out, and then I think 1040 Easy was there, and um, Binford was there, and they were talking about what you would do, like mashing. And I just didn't understand it. Like I thought mashing was something special that you had to do, and this. No, it's basically you show up and you do what you can. And I think that's really important for a lot of the newer guys to know, so you don't miss 6 weeks of workouts.
Yeah, I went through a lot of the same thing when I had injuries early on. They were mostly overuse injuries.
Yep.
So I never broke an arm or anything, but there were things holding me back in a way that I thought, well, I can't keep up with the other men, so I should just wait it out. And then you wait
Yeah.
it out longer and it's harder to come back. And had I known, and I was lucky to find this out sooner rather than later, that you can, as you said, just do what your body allows you to do. If you have to modify an exercise, we always mention that up front. Modify is necessary, but just don't modify the effort. If you can't run, don't do those portions, and you can do something else. I think that's a way in which F3 is really built for men of any, not only fitness level, but any injury history or any limitations that you can find a way to still be involved. I've even heard of guys come out just for cafeteria, not even to work out at all, but still to stay involved in seeing the other men and being around, just coming out for the end. So I'm glad you shared that story. I think that's something we don't talk often enough about because there's also this sense of masculinity being no weakness and no um, no signs of letting up, no signs of letting go. But I know that you're not a guy who has not been active in the past. Like you've been a runner. You've if you want to talk a little bit about your experience in the service, like you were in the Navy, like you're a fit guy. Um, what was it when you were younger? Did you have the same experience of working out and exercising and not being able to take time off, or what did you learn about that in your time in the Navy?
Well, I never had the issue um, with the injuries when I was younger. My time in the Navy was definitely different. Um, I was a smoker for the majority of my younger years. Probably started when I was 19 and I didn't quit until I was 34. Um, so when I was in the Navy, I was full on, smoking 3/4 of a pack a day while I was doing everything I needed to do. In the Navy, they tell you smoke them if you got them. So, kind of go that way. Um, but they kept you very busy physically. So even though I was a smoker, I was still running 8-minute miles and I was still doing everything, 50 push-ups and 100 sit-ups and whatever it was.
Wow.
But I think the thing that I learned from the Navy um, that probably was the best thing for workouts or whatever is if you see something that needs to be done, just do it. And that kind of works with the workouts. Instead of, pushing off your workouts or um, waiting till the next day to go work out. Just do it because you know you need it.
Mhm.
you know.
So it's actually, I know you didn't intend this, but that's a really good segue into where I was hoping we could spend more of this conversation, and that's about seeing an opportunity in F3 and pursuing it. So why don't you talk a little bit about what we did yesterday and
Sure.
in the bigger picture, why that's such a big deal for our region and beyond?
Yeah, it was early on. Probably got the free to lead book from Picasso probably around my 20th post. And basically from that moment until yesterday, there's been little inklings and little talks about we need an AO in Morris. We need a place to work out in Morris. Toolbox and I and our couple other people, we all live out here, and you found out yesterday it's at least 20 minutes, 25 minutes to get to the wood, and
Not a hard drive, but
no,
a long drive. Yeah.
yeah. So finally, Rooney reached out a couple weeks ago and he said, when are we going to do a Black Ops? And I said, ASAP. And so yesterday we set one up, and Toolbox set up this really, really awesome workout that kind of explored the entire AO. And we went out there, and I didn't know what I was thinking was going to happen. I was very nervous. Toolbox was very optimistic. I think I was more nervous. I was like, this AO is not going to work. It's not going to be good enough. And he's like, it'll be fine. We'll show it off. It'll be beautiful. It'll be good. And then we get there and we do the workout, and everyone's excited. And Rooney afterwards is like, I'll be next week. I'll queue. Don't worry.
Mhm.
So I'm guessing it went pretty well.
Yeah, Doghouse, I know you haven't been down there, but it reminds me a lot of the Coliseum. It's got the YMCA, it's got a parking lot, it's got a bunch of ball fields, it's got a little playground, and then a path that goes around all of it. So if you can picture the Coliseum just plop down in Morris a little bit smaller, that's what this Black Ops site is. And I agree with Rooney. I think it's going to work perfectly. We'll start, I think, on Saturdays and get more men to see it. And then what I was most encouraged by is on a Saturday morning, and not during baseball season, like the kids were showing up for games as we were leaving, but there were a lot of people just walking around that area. We EH'd probably three different people, and there were more on the pickleball courts and more in other areas that we could have talked to. But all the more reason to have those cards, have those um, things that, ways to talk people through those early conversations. So I think it's going to go well. But for you, what's it been like to basically plant a flag in your own backyard where F3 didn't have a presence before, and you're still so new to it yourself?
It's uh it's definitely nerve-wracking, especially for someone like me who's not so extroverted, but it's also super exciting to see how how well it went, and then to look at the AO with a different eye, not just my eye, but with maybe like Rooney's eye, and
Mhm.
see how excited he was when we finished up, to realize, you know what, this could really work. And then to make it really work, and then to see all the new people from Morris who are going to flock towards this new AO is really exciting.
Yeah, I want to get more eyeballs from Morris on F3, but also I think we've said in the past, I don't remember if it was Millville or one of our other third men said you really just need two or three core guys who can get an AO going, and just once a week is not a lot, but get an AO going, get some consistency, and then uh, the rest of it will happen on its own. Like we just happened to run into a woman who was with her child walking around the path, and she's like, "Yeah, I was curious. My husband really needs this." Goes back to the conversation we had about Toolbox's wife EHing him. I think those are the organic ways that things like this can and will grow. And then you add on to that the layer of Facebook marketing and getting word of mouth out with yard signs or events. I'm sure there are events in Morris where we can show up, have a presence, have the F3 shirts on. And um, that's actually what,
Orange.
when you and I were together in Shorewood, that was the first time I saw F3 in a parade. I'm curious what your experience looking at it from the outside in was when we were at the parade together and you saw the presence.
Yeah, it was definitely awesome to see it from the other side. I walked in the parade in Manuka, so I
Mm,
saw it from that side,
okay.
and that was cool. But coming from it from the other side with my kid there catching candy and seeing these men walking down the street and just, you know, carrying cinder blocks and handing out cards and being fit, and it was really cool. And I wanted to say, you know, like events in Morris, I mean Cornfest is right around the corner, and
Mhm.
that's the biggest Grundy County event, not only just Morris event. So
Yeah, we've got to get that on the radar so we can get out there and have
yeah,
a presence. If nothing else, just to show up and pass out some cards and talk to some men because we know that the need is there regardless of what the community is. Wherever there are men, there's a need for F3. Going back to the parade though, it felt like for me, there was a sense of familiarity but disconnect because it's my community. It's right where I post, and I see these men walking down the street who I know, who I work out with, but I was there as a spectator. Like you and I and our families were both there, like just watching this. So it's interesting to see how everyone else was responding to the men and the interest that they showed. It kind of reminded me of I used to take my daughter to swim lessons at what we call Three Rivers, and there's the swimming pool right there. And I remember walking her up to lessons on like a Monday night, I think, and running across my path was a bunch of F3 guys. And that was like my first week or two in F3. I hadn't even worked out at Three Rivers yet. And I was like, wait a second, I I think I know that guy. And then sure enough, there's flags there. Hadn't been to a night workout yet, but I remember seeing that and thinking, oh, this is weird to see it in the wild, to see it in the real world where this is actually happening. And that started getting me to think of F3 from a different perspective, like from the outside, how the group is perceived. And it is kind of strange to see just a group of men doing push-ups, doing jumping jacks, running when there's nobody else around. Like we see those cars coming in, it's very strange. I mean, going back to the opportunity that you have in Morris, is that something coming into F3 that you thought would be an opportunity this early for someone who's 60 something posts in, 6 months in, whatever it's been? Did you
uh,
anticipate that?
yeah, no, absolutely not. Like I said, my first post, I was trying to just, you know, survive. And at the end of the first week, I was like, you know what, this is something I can do, keep me in shape, get to meet some new people. I wasn't expecting to be, um, like I said, right around 20 posts, given the Free to Lead book, um, reading that through, and then um, getting the opportunity as soon as I finished that. I think Toolbox and I both asked to queue. We were like, can we just queue?
Mm.
And you guys were like, yeah, just get on the sheet. We were like, okay. So we probably started queuing around our 35th post. Um, yeah, and I think we both queued about 10 or 12 times. I try to queue once a week, and then this opportunity to be the site queue is really exciting to move forward in my F3 journey, which is going to make opening a new AO in Morris that much easier.
Yeah, I wasn't part of the conversation that you had to become a site Q, so I'd love to hear your perspective for how that was positioned to you, and then what your impression of getting that free to lead opportunity was. Like how are you processing this experience in your first week or two of site queuing?
Sure. Yeah, so Rooney came up to me probably 3 weeks ago. Obviously, right around when we started talking about getting the Black Ops going for Morris, and he said, you know, this is kind of what you need to expect for opening a new AO. This is the timeline. This is what we're going to need. And he was talking about how either one or both Toolbox and I need to know how to site queue because you can't open a new site without a site queue, obviously.
Mhm.
Um, and then he offered, I guess Mondays has been kind of whoever steps up for Site Q takes it for a little while. So he offered, he said, you just come here and you can Site Q here for a couple months and open AO and you'll be ready to go. And I was like, sounds like a really good plan. And then basically since then it's been a whirlwind. I shadowed Deja Vu one week, and then this last week he shadowed me, and he didn't have to do much, so that was a good feeling. And then I also site queued the Black Ops, so that was pretty cool. And I got my flag yesterday as well. So
So talk
I
about that for someone who doesn't know the role of the site queue, or for someone who hasn't done it themselves, what what's the best way to understand that responsibility within F3 in the context of the larger picture?
the way that I understand it is the site queue, um, we call it pick up the six. So the site queue takes care of any needs that the queue has, and also takes care um, of all the packs, whether they're moving at a slower pace or a faster pace. You always make sure that you're the last one in so that you know that everyone's taken care of. Um, taking doing the videos and the namerama and the picture, that's the least of it. And then making sure that every packs that showed up gets an accurate count, put that in so that their numbers keep going up, and kind of just explaining what happened at the workout and posting that up. But it feels like it's just a lot more responsibility than just showing up and working out. The way Deja Vu explained it to me is when you're the site queue, it's not about your workout. It's about everyone else's.
That's interesting. It's a good way to
Yeah.
think about it. And definitely from the standpoint of safety, that is, I know we talked last time about CPR training, and I think we all feel that whoever the site queues are should have some experience in that, but also making the call when it comes to things like weather related, whether there's lightning, like obviously this morning, lightning and hard rain would have made it difficult to do certain things outside. So it's keeping the safety of the men um, front and center as well. It takes a lot of load off the queue. So when you're going through site queue duties, do you have everything written out for yourself? Did you have like a plan to follow, or were you just going off of what Deja Vu had trained you on? Just from
Well,
action.
I went off of what he trained me on, but I also, I made sure to write down, key points. Always make sure that you're the last one in. Always make sure uh, there's a cell phone available. Always make sure someone knows CPR. Um, always try and keep the queue, um, help the queue with whatever they need. Definitely wrote down a lot of the stuff that you have to do on the computer, the
Mhm.
Slack, because that's the stuff that you tend to forget because it's a lot.
Yeah, I
Um,
wonder, just thinking about that, for the regions that don't really use Slack, or for the regions who aren't as structured, I would say, as Shamanwood is and as Plainfield has been, I wonder how that role changes. Because I can't imagine the site queue is ever an option, but I do know that they don't have, that many of them regions don't have backblasts and don't use Slack for getting a count in advance, but maybe don't even keep post counts. I don't know. I'd like to understand that a little bit better. Well, one before we wrap up, the biggest question we ask all of the third men is to tell us a little bit about how F3 has impacted your life. So the short time that you've been involved, talk about the impact that F3 has had on you personally.
the impact that it's had on me personally is definitely noticeable. Um, One of the things that I wasn't sure I was going to talk about, but I guess since you brought it up, I will, is I brought up earlier that I smoked for like 15 years. Also, when I was in the Navy, I drank pretty heavily for a while, and I broke that addiction as well. Well, since I started F3, I've broken another addiction, and I don't know if some people consider this an addiction or not, but I had a real problem with video games.
Hmm.
Um, I would uh, spend more time doing that than taking care of my kids, or I would spend more money on that because I was bored for the day, or it was becoming a problem where I was spending probably $100 every 2 weeks on games that I'm not even playing anymore just because.
Yeah.
Um, so March 17th was my first post, and March 18th was the last time I've played a video game.
Really?
And that I don't know if it was because of the post or maybe whatever it was, I knew that this is something that I needed to do, and I think that F3 definitely pushed me over the edge
But so that's
to do that.
so you knew, like in the back of your head, you knew something was going on. We're like, yeah, this is getting in the way of life. But somehow the connection to F3, like something positive in your life, it maybe Free to Lead spoke to that too, like the things that we need to address in order to be the kinds of men who are leaders and the kinds of men who can do this.
Yeah,
That's really interesting. I'm glad you brought that up because that's a tangible thing that you can point to and say who I was before, who I am now, and just the amount of time that you've been able to give back to your family is awesome.
yep.
How many
Took
hours a
one
week
post.
would you estimate you were losing?
Well, I would spend my evenings. So after the kids go to bed, my wife and I would do our own thing, and I would spend my evenings, so probably 2 to 3 hours at night. And then on my day off, I would probably spend anywhere from 4 to 5, maybe even 6 hours playing.
Uh,
And all that time I've gotten back now.
Do you feel like that was an isolating experience, whereas now you have more connections, more?
I would almost say that's exactly what it was. Like just thinking about it. Um, I've never had like I said earlier, I'm kind of an introvert, so it's really hard for me to get out and I don't just talk to people. Usually I wait for people to talk to me.
Hmm.
Um, I think with F3 and the ability to have conversations with men of my age and find out that there's more in common than just video games, um, it's definitely made a change in my life.
Hmm.
And then, like you said, getting so much more time back with my kids, my daughter, we play games all the time now. Me and my son like to go running because he really likes to run.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I would say that's probably the biggest change, at least on my family side.
Well, that's
Yeah,
great. That's really good. I can't say I've heard that before, but I've heard men quitting other things,
yeah,
drinking. We've had guys talk about their sobriety journey, talk about the time that they've gotten back and put in other places that matter. So it's really great that you've been able to do that. Good for you, good for your family. It's certainly changing what you're able to give to them as a man, as a father, as a husband. So good. Whatever it takes to get there. It's awesome.
thanks.
Before we close, Doghouse, did you want to talk through any info only, any third F stuff that we have going on?
Yeah. So just one event to speak of right now. We've kind of gone through a lot with the summer parades and all, but our next big event is going to, well, not necessarily ours, but we're definitely promoting it and supporting Homer in this. The next big event for Plainfield will be the Fire Zone 5K and the Adopt-A-Palooza event, which will be taking place at Raven's Nest in Lockport at the fire station there. That's the name Fire Zone. That'll be Sunday, October 5th. And yeah, check that out. Adopt-A-Palooza, for those unaware, is a big dog adoption event. So I've had the fortune of being a participant in the last couple of years. Homer does a great job working with the rescues. I think he gets like 10 or 15, maybe even 20 rescues. And I think the last time we did it, we got 40 dogs adopted, I believe was the total. I'd have to double check the number with him, but certainly more than 25. So it's an awesome, worthwhile event.
Yeah. I know we've got the Will County Brewing Company 5K in Shorewood later this month. imagine registration's still open for that. That's on the 30th. And then let's see if we can find more information on the Morris event that Snail Mail mentioned. The Corn Fest. Is that what it
Fest.
was?
Corn Fest.
I haven't been to it. My wife has mentioned it a couple times. Definitely worth taking a trip to, if not seeing how other men from F3 can get involved. Is there a parade that you know of, Snail Mail?
There is.
Okay. Maybe it's not too late to see what we can do there. All right. I'll wrap up with a quick COT before we go. It's really appropriate for what we're talking about today. On Tuesday, coming up in a couple days, I will actually pass the site key responsibility for Run Club at the Wood to Plunger. On Tuesday, he's taking over for me. And it's something I wasn't really prepared for until just the other day. I think I mentioned it to my wife, like, oh, I'm not going to have this flag much longer. And it really hit me, like in that moment, it really hit me. I was not a runner when I took that flag from LaRussa. In fact, that Will County Brewing Company 5K that I just mentioned at the end of August was like the first 5K I'd run in 5 to 10 years. Like it was not something I was prepared to do. So I was just a guy who wanted to help the region, and it's really been a big privilege to plant that flag every Tuesday and to take it with me in the back of my car to every post for the past year. It's really been something that's meant a lot to me. F3 has freed me to lead like no other group, no other company ever has before. Like Snail Mail described, it's just like, oh, you see an opportunity, take it, and we'll support you in every way that we can. So that shovel flag is a symbol to me of the commitment that F3 made to me early on in my journey, and in turn, the commitment that I've made to F3. And I know it doesn't necessarily end just because I'm passing off this individual role, but it's really bittersweet for sure. But it's also the only way that F3 can grow. So if you haven't been a site Q yet, tell someone that you're interested. Tell someone that you want it. If you have been a site Q, then tell other men who haven't exactly what an important experience that was for you, as I know it was for me. Because we need more men to step up, just like we were talking about with Snail Mail and with Toolbox. We need men to step into these roles, to step into the SLT role, because that, at the end of the day, more than running, more than the coupons, more than even the shovel flag itself. That is what F3 is all about. It's the reinvigoration of male community leadership. All
Aye.
All right. Well, let's wrap up as we always do with a quick name-orama. I'll start. I am Bill Skaronsky. I'm 46. I am Puddles.
Puddles. John Christ, 41, Doghouse.
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 James Casey, 43, Snail Mail.
Snail Mail.
Snail Mail.
Thanks for joining us. Thanks everyone for watching, and make sure you do get on the cue sheet so you can be the next person in that third man seat. We'd love to hear more about your story. Until next time, we will see you in the gloom. Bye.